Fellow Toastmasters and guests, pardon me while I quickly take a quick snack here. Delicious. Barbecue chirps. These are really good. And they're also quite healthy. Gluten-free, 100% natural, 40% less fat, and 3 times the protein of chips. That's not bad. Where does that protein come from? Crickets. Chirps. It's delicious. A friend of mine introduced me to these about a month ago, and I thought it was just gimmicky. I thought this is just a novelty item. Turns out it's far from that. This company was actually started by three women, 2 of them from Harvard, and they're really pushing for sustainable food items and food of the future. There's good reasons why we should be looking and considering insects. So today, I'm going to take a little bit of time to try to convince all of you to open your minds and your hearts to the idea. This is just the start. So I know that makes you very queasy, uncomfortable. It's not an easy topic, it's not an easy thing to do. But as I've researched, there's a lot of good reasons that I've mentioned. And actually there's a good movement behind it now too. The UN put out a report in 2013 that gives as compelling an argument as you could possibly expect for why insects are a good food source. All sorts of background in terms of nutrition, sustainability, the cost of actually putting things together in terms of production. It's very, very compelling. I read it, I'm convinced. But again, I have to convince all of you. I don't want to go through all of that data because it's too much. So what I want to do is try to take you through some exercises. I want to break the mold here and try out some insects in the meeting for the first time ever. Because the only time I've eaten insects so far is as chirps, which is cricket flour, which is pretty easy. So please bear with me as we walk through this journey, and I'll share. You're welcome to partake as well. So first up, crickets or crickets. These are whole crickets. They didn't do much to mask them. They come in 3 different flavors: salt and vinegar, bacon and cheese, and sour cream and onion. I'm going to go with salt and vinegar. I'll pass these around if anybody wants to take a look at them as visual aids. Wish me luck. Let's see what happens here.
Oh boy. You can do it.
Well, here we go. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Crunchy, salty, vinegary. Not bad. Now, crickets are actually incredibly efficient food. They're 2 times better at converting feed than chickens, and 12 times more efficient in converting feed than cows. What that means is to produce a pound of beef, you need 25 bags of feed. A pound of crickets, only 2 bags of feed. Not only that, but the water that's required to produce that beef, 2,000 gallons of water to produce that pound of beef. Can anybody guess how many gallons of water to produce a pound of cricket meat?
Half a gallon.
Well, close, 1 gallon. 2,000 to 1 ratio. That's significant. And as you've heard from some of these other topics, there's some timely things that were mentioned today in terms of water supply and so on for the future. So I'll move on to the next thing. I don't think anyone's opened the boxes. Larvettes. Ingredients, larva of some unspecified insect variety, I don't know. But I've got Mexican spice, cheddar cheese, and barbecue. I'm gonna go with Mexican spice, which I've been told is something of a Doritos variety. So we'll see how these go down. No one knew they were walking into Fear Factor TGIF today. Okay. Down the hatch. I'm going for a second. So, not only are insects efficient, they're also incredibly nutritious. Really high in protein, high in zinc, and and omega-3, and protein to rival chickens, omega-3 to rival fish. There's actually protein bars that are being produced right now. That was on Shark Tank. Mark Cuban actually backed the company that's producing these protein bars, and they're making cricket powder. So there actually is a lot. And then with 1,900 different species of insects to eat, what that translates to is a lot of variety in terms of nutrition. This is a world that Westerners have not explored. Well, I'm ready for some dessert. Let's see what we got here. We have some chocolate-covered scorpions, chocolate-covered silkworms, and chocolate-covered superworms. I'm gonna take the superworms. Best if used by September 2014. Okay, I like the plastic. Crunchy, chocolatey, not bad. That's actually pretty good. So as I mentioned, we're a bit of an oddity. This is a popular topic, but I'm guessing that very few have actually heard or know of this. Well, we're the cultural minority. 80% of countries already eat insects. 2.5 billion people eat insects. We're the exception. And things are changing. There's a lot of those countries, they eat them as a delicacy. It's actually something that's delicious and good. It's not just sustainable. But there are other cultures where it is part of their sustainable life. Population is projected right now to explode to 9 billion. And at that rate, it's also expected that we will need to double food production. Now, suddenly, efficiency really matters. When you're talking about the water and the feed and everything else that goes into land and so on that goes into producing this food, and you need to produce that for twice as much as what we have now, we've got a real problem. So I don't think it's a question of when Westerners are going to eat insects, or it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So what am I asking of all of you today? Yes. I'm asking you to open your mind, consider trying some of these snacks after the meeting. Consider the fact that this is a cultural bias that we have, that it's a mental block. Think of the things that we eat today that if you really step back, they're not terribly appetizing. Chickens are not all attractive. Cows, they're kind of gross. Pigs, seafood, they're already pretty foreign and weird. Lobsters were known as the cockroaches of the sea. They were dreaded and disgusting for a long time, and now they're a delicacy. And tons of other things. Shellfish, mussels, really? That's less disgusting than insects? And oysters, you basically slurp down an entire animal out of a shell. And yet, that is not bizarre or weird. So again, I'm asking all of you to consider this, give this a try. It's the food of the future. It's incredibly efficient. Check out the research, check out this data, the data, and you'll be convinced just as I am. Thank you for your time.